This conference will now be recorded.
All right, y'all. Thank you for coming to our MS support group tonight. My name is Kim. Let's see. I am from Des Moines, Iowa. I have relapsing remitting, diagnosed since 2012. Currently on Ocrevus. And that's it for me tonight. We're gonna go up to Frank. Introduce yourself and let us know if you need time tonight. Thank you.
My name's Frank Austin. I am from Northwest Kansas, right in the center of the United States. I was diagnosed in 1997, but I know it was uh, living with MS from the mid 80s. I'm on absolutely nothing, and I'm doing just fine. And no, I do not need any time tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Frank. John, you're up next. Go ahead and introduce yourself. And I know you're anytime tonight because we already talked about that. So
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. Um, Hi, I'm John. I'm from Michigan. I live kind of in the ring finger of Michigan on your map. Um, and wow, it says that I have left. That's weird. My computer's being silly tonight. Anyways, diagnosed in 2016 with relapsing remitting, and I take Zeposia.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Tim, welcome. Introduce yourself, please.
So like I said earlier, I am in Southwest Oklahoma. Not fully diagnosed yet, but it's looking like that should hopefully come at any point. The doctors say I only have the one O-band, so they're having a difficult time to go ahead and pin down what they want to say my diagnosis is. So because of that reason, I'm not even on medication at this point, though I probably should be because I've got a plethora of things going on with me at this point. So yeah, that's the short end of my story.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming in for your first time tonight. Good to see you. We'll swing back around to you a bit later. And Helen, also brand new to the group. Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you. I live in Massachusetts and was diagnosed last summer. Probably have had it since 1980, probably 30 years plus. I just turned 70 this March, and probably had it most of my life, my adult life. Uh, I am not taking any DMT. But my doctor is helping me with some of the symptoms that they can help me with. He basically said that probably a lot of these treatments wouldn't help me with the symptoms that I have anyway.
Right.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you're able to make it tonight. And
Thank
then
you.
we're going to bop over to Michelle on the telephone. Michelle, welcome. Please introduce yourself. Have you been here before? No.
No, I have. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but I'm going to
Okay.
mute one of you, or can you turn off one of you? Okay. Try now again.
And I just lost you.
Nope, you're still here. We hear you. Okay.
Now you're on mute.
We'll give her just a moment here.
Yeah.
Man,
It's a
look
night
at
of
Tim
technical
hopping right on.
difficulties.
Tim's just like, I'm on it. I got it.
I know the feeling. I had problems with my sound. I had to restart everything.
Yeah. So
So
so it's one of those
Can you
nights
hear
for
me
that's
all.
now?
my bad.
Yeah, there
Yes,
When
you
I
are.
Michelle, go ahead.
You may go. Just pass me by.
Oh, you can just introduce yourself, where you're from, if you've been diagnosed, you know, and then we'll swing back here.
we can hear you fine now, Michelle. Just speak up. We can hear you. Oh, Michelle, if you can hear us, just speak up. We can hear you. I guess not. And it was my bad because I threw her out. I threw her out on the phone when Muting her wouldn't have helped you, Kim, because she has to mute herself at the other end.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I can mute people. I can't unmute them.
Right,
Okay,
but you still would have got the feedback on the one she was on.
that's
Yeah.
okay. All right, we're going to skip Michelle for
Hang on,
now.
I
And
thought I just heard her. Michelle? Oh, maybe I was hearing things. Sorry.
let's go ahead and have you introduce yourself, Carmen.
Hi, I'm Carmen from Canada, and Michelle, if you can hear this, you can be up next. So we're rooting for you to get your sound. Anyway, I'm Carmen from Canada. I actually live in British Columbia on the West Coast, and I have primary progressive MS. I was diagnosed in 2014. I probably can think back to some symptoms happening in the late 90s. So I've had it for a while. Anyway, I'm on Ocrevus and I'm just in the process of potentially getting involved in a new study. Well, I'm going to be screening for a new study and that's exciting. So coming up soon. And I will take some time, please.
Okay, thanks, Carmen. Michelle, are you ready?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Jesus. Technology. Um. Okay. Long and short. My story is short. I was originally diagnosed first in 2005, 2006. The support system around me thought it was, was a misdiagnosis. My doctor, eye doctor, thought it was a misdiagnosis. It was prompted by optic neuritis. My own parent was like, I had optic neuritis, I don't have MS. So it was a whole bunch of people around me. And because I was not a drug taker, I refused to take any drugs at all. I refused. The original center here in Atlanta, Shepherd Center, refused to accept me actually because they asked me if you had a spinal tap. No, the definitive. The definitive. Didn't have a spinal tap, you don't have it. They refused to take me. Here's this. That's 2006, right? Fast forward to 2022, have a relapse and I'm a veteran. So I woke up one day like a young lady that was depicted on a 60-minute episode. I could not move half my body. I thought I had stroke. I went and got a follow up and found out it had returned with a vengeance. So here I am. And when I finally agreed to take some drugs, I'm on glutamine acetate. I take 3 injections a week. In fact, I got to take one tomorrow. So there you go.
Okay. Well, thank you, Michelle. We'll get back to you here soon. Let's head over to Amy. Welcome back. Please introduce yourself.
Yes. Hi, I'm Amy Adams. And I also have a kind of, I want to say person, but I'm on social media as the Mrs. with MS. And I was diagnosed in 2014. I started with Copaxone immediately and did that for 5 years. And in 2019, I decided to switch over to Ocrevus. And I had a good experience with it. And I felt like, I don't want to say I improved, but maybe my endurance lasted a little longer. I don't know. There was something about it that it did seem like it worked well for me. And but though I began to experience what they call the crack gap, and was noticing that every time I was coming up to my next infusion, I would have a worsening of my condition. It started off with like 2 weeks before my infusion, and then it jumped to a month, and then it finally jumped to about 6 weeks. And I was like, I just can't do this. So I went on Briumvi in July of last year. So I was somewhat early to start taking that. And I can tell that my gap has decreased, but I am definitely not where I was in March of or April of 2023. Like, it's not provided to me the same type of ability, or I don't know, just my endurance, my ability to function is just not as good. So I'm just kind of sitting here waiting for a better solution to pop up.
Did you need time tonight, Amy?
No, unless, because stuff comes up and it's interesting to talk about while we're talking.
Thank you so much. Good to see you again. Last but not least, Jen. Welcome and introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Jennifer from Michigan. I have secondary progressive MS. I was diagnosed back in 1997. Currently using Rituxan, and as a matter of fact, I had my 6-month infusion yesterday. And I don't believe I need time. I'll just interject like Amy as it's appropriate.
Okay. Thank you, Jen. Okay, we're going to go first to one of our newbies. Tim, do you want to start us off? Do you have any questions or just tell us about your history?
So really, my history is kind of a bit storied. I've had quite a few things happen on throughout the years. Earliest that I can pinpoint is 2011. So I've had some issues with mobility and memory and cognition. First thing that I ever had was a memory issue. The way that it happened, I was on a road trip driving from Dallas to Austin, and I was just south of a town called Waco. Most people know Waco because of the tragedy there back in the early 90s. And I was on the south side of Waco, and then the next thing I know, I'm on the south side of Georgetown, just north of Austin, which is about an hour and a half away. And I had no idea how I got there. Absolutely zero idea. I still have no memory of that part of my drive at all.
Wow.
Um, Evidently, I drove fine because I got there safely, but I still have absolutely zero memory of doing that part of the drive. And then I've had another issue in 2016 where I was watching a movie and I tried to get up to go to the bathroom after the movie was over, and I literally could not move my right leg at all. It just would not move a single inch. And so that's one thing I remember. And then since 2021, I have completely lost the ability to read books. I get about three or two to three paragraphs in, and I cannot comprehend anything that I'm reading, and everything turns into a jumble. I talked to my doctor, let her know what's going on. She says, okay, well, we'll do a little cognitive test and see how that goes. They did that, and immediately 5 minutes later said, we're sending you in for a CT. And they did the CT, and just from the CT alone, they found quite a bit of evidence of demyelination on my left side of my brain. Then I did the MRIs after that, and that's when they found basically a battlefield's worth of lesions on the left side of my brain. So basically, I've been going through that, and like I said, I've had all of those things going on, and they still refuse to give me a diagnosis.
Are you seeing a specialist that specializes in MS versus just a plain
Yes.
neurologist?
I am going in and seeing the MS and neurology clinic at UT Southwestern in Dallas. So I have to drive 2.5 hours just to be able to go see an MS clinic doctor.
Wow. Yeah.
Do you have
So
any
yeah,
questions for us or anything you'd like to? I understand the cognition thing because I've talked about in past groups where I've had to go down to like age 8 to 12 because I can't understand adult books at all, where I
um,
can't
uh,
understand the second paragraph because I don't remember what I read in the first paragraph. So I
yeah. Well,
understand what you're
for me, it's not so much about not for or remembering what I've read. It's a matter of being able to comprehend what I've read.
That's what
I've
I'm saying.
lost the
I
ability
read
to,
it
yeah.
and I can't like it doesn't sink in.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I've had to just stop attempting to read books, which kills me because basically since my preteen years up to about 2001, I figured I've probably read about 6,000 books in my lifetime. And
Oh.
and so
It's tough.
I literally mourn not being able to read.
It's
It
tough.
Yeah.
kills me. Like I finally got up the nerve to get out all of my books boxes that I have not been able to unpack, and I literally just took them all to a half price bookstore and sold them all for $35.
Oh my God,
And
Tim.
Oh,
I
Yeah.
literally, after that, I got into the car after they gave me such little bit of money for it and just sobbed because of
no
that.
doubt.
Like
Yeah.
that's really one of the saddest things I've ever heard. And as someone who has gallons of books, whatever you measure books in, like, oh man,
Yeah.
I'm sorry that
I
that
mean,
had to happen to you.
like I said, I literally mourn the fact that I can't read books anymore because I that was always my escape, and now
Yeah.
I don't
Mm,
even have that.
mhm.
Yeah.
I feel for you, Tim. I'm a reader as well, and I just keep thinking I'm just too busy. I haven't sat down with a good book, but in truth, it's because I just can't follow them. Yeah,
I thought that too at first. I thought maybe this is just ADHD that's doing this, and I'm like, then I'm realizing, okay, there's times where I used to be really calm, like I am now, and could read like up a storm, and I still can't.
Yeah.
So
So,
here's an idea, Tim. Have you ever tried
huh?
Audible? Have you ever
I
tried
try
Audible?
I I've tried audiobooks, but honestly, I'm such a purist with books that I know this may sound weird for some people, but I love the smell of books. I love the feel of books. I love being able to go to a bookstore or a library and perusing through there, and it's just not the same. An audiobook just does not hold my attention the way that a real book does
All
or
right,
did.
Yeah. Tim,
Tim,
that
Right.
just means you're old school. It's
I
okay.
I
I'm
have a
old school too.
question for you. Tim, a couple of years ago, I switched over to using a Kindle, and oh my God, how did I do that? I like the books, I like all the things, and then a friend said to me, "Hey, is it the paper of the book or the story of the book that you like more?" And that blew my mind. And yeah, but yeah, like I still want to pick up a book and read it, man. My sympathies towards that. That's
Yeah, the only thing that I found that I can follow along is comic books. So I've been going up like a storm and buying up a lot of like the really thick bound like multi comics, and I
yeah.
can follow along with that. But if it's just straight text, yeah, no, unfortunately not.
Yeah.
something
I mean,
about that
it
visual is helping you to keep track of
well,
things, hey?
that and also just the fact of being able to hold something in my hand and thumb through pages so I can at least get some bit of that same feeling as like I did before.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, also,
Man.
we have a text bar, a chat if you want to chat too, on the side too. That's totally cool, and
Yeah,
that's open there.
I saw that. And thank
Yeah.
you, Michelle. I appreciate that.
Just acknowledging the tough spot that you're also in, Tim, with not having a diagnosis. Like, has
Yeah.
anyone said like what's the story or why they're reluctant to give you a diagnosis? Is it just because it's
Well,
atypical and
you were not in when I brought this up, but
oh,
I did the lumbar puncture, and they found that I only have one single O band, whereas
oh,
for a slam dunk diagnosis, usually you need like two to three or more. And so I don't have that. I just have the single, but I think the single that I do have is just causing me so much problem still. And also the MS clinic said that aside from the where I have it on my left occipital lobe, in some of the other areas, the placement is not typical. But yet, I mean, everything that I'm going through is categorically MS related.
Yeah.
Uh, s-
yeah,
and so it's like I have everything that everyone says is MS, but yet they don't want to give me the full diagnosis yet.
Yeah.
And
you'd
I'm
think they'd
and
at least start you on some kind of medication, like regardless, hey?
I was asking about that, and they just categorically refuse to.
Give
Huh.
that man some steroids.
At the
That's what
very
I've asked
least.
for. I've
Yeah.
asked for that, and they still don't even want to do that.
Oh my gosh, I'm so
Oh,
sorry, friend.
All right, I'm just gonna put this out there just because. Raise your hand if you've had to fire one of your doctors in the past.
mm,
John, yeah, okay,
I
yeah. Okay.
I had to fire my neurologist here because she was a raging B word. If that tells you something.
Yeah, sometimes the first ones we meet are not the best fits.
I had
So,
to fire so many doctors over 30 years. I think part of the reason why I didn't get diagnosed in the end is because uh, nobody had seen the pattern that might have emerged, but everybody I saw, because my symptoms were not typical, I don't have any problem with mobility. I kept being treated like a crazy person, and I knew that there was something wrong, and I, I, I couldn't take it. I couldn't, I was getting no help. And so
Oh,
every few
and
years I would change doctors because I couldn't stand it. And it was, I mean, I wrote a letter to a doctor that I had for like 10 years that I really trusted, and he treated me so badly. I wrote him this letter and said, how could you? But I didn't know I had MS at the time. I'm tempted to write him now and say, and oh, by the way.
and Helen, I feel so bad for you because women, especially you guys, have it a lot worse than men do because women are more likely to be considered as being crazy when it comes
Oh
to
yeah,
trying to find diagnosis for things, and y'all are not listened to, and
yeah,
it's a absolute travesty. I feel so bad for
yeah,
you guys for that.
yeah.
They're
Well,
just
Classical
it was
hysterical.
just me.
menopause.
Yeah.
You're just
Oh,
hysterical, right?
yeah,
You're just
Yeah,
hysterical.
exactly.
yeah, yeah. And then by the time my symptoms, I had relapsing remitting, I guess. By the time, I was in my mid 60s and the symptoms stopped going away. Um, by then the doctors were just saying, "Oh, well, you're just getting old." Uh, and and by then they saw the lesions, lots of them, and they said, well, you had migraines as a child, you smoked, there are lots of reasons why you probably have lesions. We can't be sure, but that's probably what it is. And I just it's been this long, miserable, slog to get here. I was lucky. I mean, lucky. I finally had the spinal tap, and I have 7 O bands. So
Oh
they
wow.
they found it. But my lesions didn't look like MS. The doctor said, "Oh, well, they don't really look like MS. I don't have any problem with my gait. I don't have any problem walking." Um, but I have the hug. I've had the hug for years and years and years, and I felt like a crazy person talking to my doctors about it. You know, I and they'd say, "Well, I don't know what that is." I describe it, but you feel to try and describe an MS hug to someone who doesn't think you have MS, and no one has even brought the word MS up. You sound like
Wow.
a loon.
I didn't even think that when they told me initially that this was a possibility, I didn't even initially think that this could have been a possibility. It is the one thing that never even entered my mind. And then
Yeah,
they started saying that it's a possibility, and I'm like, what?
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, I get it.
yeah.
Are you
Man,
having
it's so
any
hard to
other?
hear.
Go ahead, Carmen.
Go ahead. Oh, I just was going to acknowledge how challenging like all the medical experiences for everyone can be and how
Yeah,
difficult it is.
yeah,
And it breaks my heart. I'm from the medical field and I miss it desperately, but and I worked at the other end of the spectrum. I was a perinatal nurse, but it just breaks my heart because if and I'm a medical professional, like I was a medical professional, and I have to advocate for myself, and even I can't sometimes sway things. But when I
yeah,
hear some of these stories, it's just like so challenging. I feel for you guys. Like honestly, it's
yeah,
awful what
yeah,
people have to go through. This is just
You
our
you
I
want
disease. Like think of how many
you want
other
to talk
things
about
out there.
yeah,
yeah,
have
you
something to
want to
add.
talk about bad just real quick. That one time I said or talked about where my right leg stopped working. I literally had the emergency room when I went up there for that throw me out and call me a druggie and pill seeker because they couldn't find anything wrong with me and they
right,
thought I was just trying to get drugs.
right, right. I'm not surprised.
Awful.
Okay.
I'm not
So
surprised.
Pretty.
Carmen was saying
Unfortunately,
about.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Ellen.
Unfortunately, my son grew up with a mother that was always feeling sick and or saying she was sick. I had this, I had that, I always had a problem. And he really concluded very early on that his mother was a hypochondriac. And he only very recently he apologized to me, but I think that the damage is done. It's really hard for him to understand that that all of that was this. And because he'd say, "Mom, I want to do this," and I'd say, "Oh, honey, I'm just too tired. I'm too tired." And just having to be that mother that just I blame myself too. I wondered myself why the doctors couldn't figure out why I kept having this problem or that problem, UTIs or sinus infections or, I mean, fibromyalgia or back problems. They sent me for radio ablation. I had, I mean, you name it. I had, all kinds of crazy ass problems. And I mean, one thing after another. One thing would go away. I'd feel great for a little while, and then I'd have some new thing. And he just watched me, thinking my mother is nuts.
I'm sure my family thought the same about me as well.
Yeah,
That's why you come to these groups, because the
it's
crazy things you
horrible.
talk about, we understand what you're experiencing. So, what were you going to say, Amy, earlier?
Yes, you're talking about just the difficulties that we encounter being chronically ill,
Yeah,
and especially in the medical world. See, I came from healthcare marketing. I did that for nearly 20 years before I stopped working, and I stopped working because my disabilities were becoming more difficult to work around. So I have just about all of my lesions are in my spine. I was diagnosed. I could have almost been diagnosed the same day back in 2014 if my doctor had looked at my MRI. But it actually took him about 4 weeks for him to actually look at the MRI. And he called me and he was like, "I am so sorry. I did not think you had MS, but you have so many lesions, I can't even count them." So that's my story. And they're pretty much all in my spine. And I've not had any new lesions in the past 10 years. I'm coming up on 10 years, but I do
That's
have what
awesome.
they call progression independence of relapse activity. So I don't know if that really means I'm secondary progressive, but my movement in my hands and in my feet are, and my legs are just, it's really, really hard
yeah.
and hard to move, but I still move. I still exercise just about every day, but that's another story. Coming to my issue that I recently encountered was with insurance, and I don't know if anybody else is dealing with insurance madness, but that gets me so heated, and it just seems to be never ending.
Yeah.
So I submitted for disability back in 2018 and was granted on my first submission. And so I have had that. And after you have that for 2 years, you're automatically enrolled in Medicare Part A. You can't deny it. You can't say you don't want it. It just automatically happens. And so I would have just been like, nope, I don't want to do anything with Medicare, but I don't have that choice. And at the time, they asked me if I wanted to be on Part B, and I'm like, no, don't want it. I'm on my husband's insurance. I don't want to have anything to do with it. Well, somehow your name, there's a list that health insurance companies will know if you're on Medicare or if you're on Medicare Part A, and then they start toying around with, oh, you were offered Medicare Part B, and because you were offered, you should have taken it. Well, that's
Oh,
happened to me this past year, and it's actually been happening to me for about 3 years now, where I have to go back and say, nope, I have private insurance. They are my primary. Well, this year, United Healthcare came to me and said, oh, no, it's a new law. We are considered your second. That United Healthcare was saying we are the secondary insurance, and we're only going to pay what Medicare Part B would have paid, and I don't have Part B. Anyways, they were handing me a bill for $38,000 for my BRIUM infusion, and
oh,
this was complete, like, shocking. I mean, I was upset for 2 weeks thinking I'm about to bankrupt my family because of all my medical expenses. And when you're on Medicare, there's not really an out-of-pocket maximum. Maybe $8,000 to $10,000. There's not any maximum, Kim. Yeah,
No, you
it's
pay
not good.
20%. You pay
Yeah,
20% of whatever they
20%.
don't pay. You pay the 20%. Yeah, there's no limit like you have on private insurance. Does your
Yeah.
husband, does he work for a company that has more or less than 100 people?
Yes, you're spot on. Yes, he does. He does work for a company with more than 100. And I went back and said, hey, of course, I'm the little David, and United Healthcare is the Goliath, and I have very little. Like, you find yourself in a very helpless position because you don't have the lawyers, you don't have this backup of saying, no, this is what I don't agree with this. You're going to pay the bill. And I even had to involve my husband's employer and the insurance. I think they're called insurance brokers that work with the different healthcare companies. And they were like, "Oh yeah, you should have gone on Medicare Part B. You might can go back and ask if you can get on Medicare Part B." And so we said, "No, no, no. United Healthcare is responsible." And then finally they came. My husband's employer said, "We will pay. United Healthcare will pay." They went on to do further investigations with attorneys from United Healthcare and from Lockton, the insurance broker. And sure enough, they're like, "Yeah, you do have this. United Healthcare is the primary insurer." And I just, on top of everything else that we deal with our disease, that we have to deal with the nonsense of what goes on with the insurance, and that they're not doing their jobs right. And I tell you, I want to advocate for change in such a way that it's just not right. And I have to say, Carmen, because you said you're from the medical background, we at least understand the communication, what needs to happen, how the process of things flow.
Yeah.
But other people, they don't know that, and so they just give
I
up,
know. Yeah.
and it's really
And
wrong.
and then
That,
I hear like the horror stories from the States about like things, and it just makes my heart, well, my blood boil. Anyway, sorry,
Yes,
Frank.
that's how I feel about it. Anyways, that just popped up, and I want to say, did anybody else have insurance problems?
who
I think we've
doesn't?
all had it. I think that if you don't have insurance problems, that's kind of like the minority, honestly. So
Okay.
I purposely like did not vouch out of Medicare Part B, even because I did have my husband's private insurance because I didn't want to deal with the headache
Yep.
of them. So yeah, and then I had to flip because my husband's job originally was under 100 employees, and they tried to fight me like, no, the other one's like, no, for disability, Medicare is different how it pays. And then
Yep.
when he changed companies, then it flipped where his private insurance was then primary versus secondary. So yeah.
Can anyone give me a Cole's Notes of what Part B means? Does that mean more is covered or that it's worse?
Ooh, that's a great question. Who's
Yeah,
the best
a
in
whole
the
other
insurance
meeting
lingo?
discussion probably.
So basically, Part B is supplementary insurance to go with Medicare. So say like you go on disability or you're a retiree. So you can go with just Medicare and be fine with it, or you can also go with private insurance for supplementary insurance. But Part B basically is quote unquote supposed to cover what Medicare does not cover. But really, it's kind of almost a bit of a scam sometimes.
Sometimes,
Medicare,
yeah.
Medicare Part A, which is the basic Medicare, was hospitalization.
Yeah, just hospitalization.
It's
That's
not
all it
covered
is.
at all.
Hmm.
And you still pay 20% of any of that? Like there's no deductible or?
Yeah, they don't
Uh,
have they have I think they do have like a deductible that you might have to pay, but it's not super bad.
it's
Right.
not a
And then
big.
B is like your doctor's visits and everything, no drugs. Infusions would be
Yeah.
under B, but anything that you get prescription like a pill, that's Part D.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then if
Oh my
you want
God.
to get like an HMO private, if you don't want actually Medicare, but you want a Medicare like, then that's Medicare Part C, which is the Advantage, which is like the HMO kind of thing. Yeah.
Hey,
Don't,
Which
Carmen.
one's Obamacare?
and then
Ugh.
there's supplemental. Yeah, it don't. It is so confusing, Carmen.
It's
Which one
Carmen,
is Obamacare though?
all of it.
Obamacare is
All of it.
when people, so in the US, your insurance is based on your employment. So Obamacare
Okay.
allows people
Yeah.
to get insurance when they, not through their employers, that anyone can get
Okay.
insurance. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
I think I
yeah,
said that in
Carmen,
a nutshell, like probably the,
American insurance is a bunch of bullshit. It's so much red tape,
Yeah.
and it just
Well, it's big
it's so
business,
bad.
right?
What's that?
John,
It's big business.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not just the United States. It's the same over. Go deal with the British medical system. It's
Sure.
just as bad as ours.
unfortunately,
They're
there's not a
all
perfect system when it comes to
No.
healthcare.
Yeah. I mean, we have
Unfortunately, there is
challenges
not. I
too,
mean,
but
you have challenges in Canada. It's just that I think the U.S. the prices compared to other healthcare is
oh yes.
obnoxious compared to other countries,
Yes.
and yet I think we're like our quality of healthcare is super low despite our
Mhm.
super high prices. Like our
Yeah.
mortality rates and stuff are ridiculous, and
Yeah.
like
Well, consider like we compared prices for Ocrevus. I just had my I get my receipt from it from my provincial healthcare information, and it was $9,000.
oh,
And
you
other
want to hear
people,
what
I
mine
think,
is? I got mine the other day.
yeah,
Guys, hold on. I gotta go. Continue on. I gotta grab my piece of paper.
crazy.
I have a friend of mine that takes Ocrevus, and she was telling me that for her 2 infusions for 1 year, it's $300,000.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, that's about right.
My God.
Wow.
Where's my bill? Hold on a second. I got it in
All
front
that
of my
money that
bill.
could be like spent helping to solve our problems.
Yeah.
Instead,
I
it's
mean,
just feeding.
that's a house. Literally, that just 1 year of that is a whole house.
Amazing.
Okay.
And so, what do
Wow.
people do that don't have insurance? They don't get the medicine?
They don't get the medicine.
It depends on, sometimes they can have assistance. Sometimes they can get on Medicaid by the state.
Right.
Oh God.
Right.
But yeah, I
Anyway, not
don't
very fun.
I don't know the numbers, but the amount of people that declare bankruptcy that have insurance in the USA due to medical is really disgusting. And then when you
Yeah.
have like the GoFundMe and stuff, the percentage for medical care is a bulk of them actually. Okay, I can't find a piece of paper. Darn it now.
We'll believe you though, Kim.
Oh, it's so beautiful to see like on a piece of paper, like the numbers. Because you sound crazy when you're like, hey, it's this much. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you got to see this piece of paper. It really is this much. But I think it was close to, I think it's like over $140,000 now for one infusion. So take that by 2, and that's
Sure.
for a year for just
Unbelievable.
infusions, not MRIs, doctor visits, and everything like
What
that.
about
So
some of the other infusions? Like somebody else was, Jennifer, you take something different. What,
she takes Rituxan. And
I take Rituxan, which is the OG in the injectable or in the infusions. In my opinion, I started Rituxan before Ocrevus came out on the market, and it's more reasonable. I have to take 2 infusions in 2 weeks apart. And I have 4 infusions over the course of a year, whereas
Yeah.
Ocrevus you have 2 infusions, and
Yeah.
it's less expensive, but it's not. I don't think it's indicated necessarily for multiple sclerosis. So I think that's how it stays affordable. Again, Carmen, it's the wonky United States medical system.
Mm.
I would have less issue if we had like the best healthcare in the world and we had like phenomenal results. I would be a little bit,
Less bitter.
better. Yes, I would be, if we were had like the best outcomes ever and like no one died and no one had stupid things happen to them, I would be like,
Mhm.
yes. I'm like, it's worth the money, but in some of the headaches, but I'm just like, we don't stack up so well when we look at other countries on a lot of areas, and especially like our minority populations and the poor, like it is bad. It is
Well, thanks
bad.
for sharing, you guys, and kind of educating me a little bit.
Yes, yes. Quick question, Tim, did we get everything we covered? Because I want to make sure we got everyone that wanted to talk tonight. So is it cool if we go to the next person, Tim? Okay, let's
Oh yeah.
skip over to Helen next. And is there anything else you wanted to add, Helen, since you are a new person, or questions or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. My doctor gave me the option. Uh, Basically, he said that the DMTs were really more for people who had mobility issues. He told me that these drugs were really tested on younger people, and owing to the fact that I'm 70, that and the fact that I don't I mean I feel it in my legs when I'm walking. My legs start feeling really heavy. Uh, but I can still walk. So on a medium length walk down the road a ways, my legs start to feel heavy, but I'm still getting there. I'm still going. Um, but he said that those drugs are really for those people, and I take it that a number of you are those people. Um, I don't know whether I don't know enough about these drugs to really, and when I try and read about them, it's very confusing. Also, I know that at my age, my immune system is on the downswing. And so I know that, if I get a vaccine or I do any of that sort of thing, I am putting myself at risk there. So, what do you guys say? What has your experience been with these drugs? Are they all fired wonderful? Should I be trying one? Um, am I being stupid by just not doing it? Um, Given the fact that I'm walking fine.
Well, Helen, I guess the question I think, because my husband, who also has MS, we have a support group that we belong to here in Michigan where we have some members that are a little closer to your age.
Yeah,
Um, and the disease modifying therapies are meant to slow the disease progression. And
right.
I think what it sounds like you're dealing with more is symptom management. And
Yes,
so if you can use those medications to deal with what your symptoms are, but are you worried about the disease progressing? And I don't know if you've noticed this, Frank, that some people say that as they get older, we have a member of our group that's 60, and his neurologist told him, your disease has plateaued. So
yeah,
Kevin is no longer taking disease modifying therapy. I
yeah.
don't know if your neurologist, Helen, has told you anything like that.
No, I mean he hasn't, but I can tell you guys that my symptoms are getting worse. I am
Okay.
more tired now than I've ever been. I mean, really bone tired. I mean, there are days where it's just really hard for me to get anything done. And I used to be extremely active. And I used to be able to sort of handle things, and I'm starting to feel very much like I'm not sure, I can deal with stuff. And so I'm feeling it more now. And I'm also not reading books. I can't tell you why exactly, because I'm not really sure. I know I'm feeling my eyesight is definitely being affected, but it's not really clear w- exactly what is at work. This is such a weird disease because it's just sort of so subtle and it's sneaky. I mean, there's just this weird stuff that's happening, and it's hard sometimes to be sure whether I'm just not having a bad moment or something is starting to happen. I mean, I have all kinds of symptoms. I'm dizzy all the time, just low level dizzy all the time, every day, 24/7. I have a 24/7 headache. They've treated that, so I'm grateful for that. And so I get breakthrough headaches, but the headache is pretty well managed anyway. But like just weird stuff. My hands vibrate. I feel vibration all over my body. I'm itchy. I have the hug thing. It's the fatigue that is just killing me. It's just killing me. I'm just to iron or to make the bed, I have to sit down. Like, I get halfway through putting the sheets on, I get one sheet on the fitted sheet on the bed, and I've got to go sit down. Like, that's weird. I mean, I got uh, a a a, um, a placard for my car, and I feel strange because I know that when I get out of my car, I don't limp. I'm not in a wheelchair. And some people are going to look at me and say, why is she got a handicap spot? But I know that I might just get too tired to make it over to the store if I have to park, way down the street. But I look okay. So like,
Helen,
what?
Helen,
Yeah,
I would rather have you save your energy for when you're in the store doing your shopping
yeah,
rather than having you expend it by walking 50 miles in the Walmart parking lot.
I know.
Uh, Also, I'm sorry I'm going to say something kind of vulgar, but fuck those people.
I know. I
You know,
know.
but it's easy to say, but it's harder to do.
Yeah.
You know,
And
Yeah.
been
Helen,
there, done that.
I'm just
Totally with
waiting
you.
for that first person that's going to say something to me. And, I mean, I've got the medical thing hanging from my mirror, and it says, all my medications and MS and all of that. And, but it's just, it's like, what should I be? I just I feel lost. Like, what should I be doing? Should I take the DMTs? Should I, he offered me to try steroids. I don't know whether that isn't like a slippery slope. Like, if I'm managing okay, except for the fatigue. But are you guys really tired? Are are
Oh,
you?
yeah.
constantly.
Yeah.
Oh,
Rob's like,
Yes, yes,
yes, constantly.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
Everything you said
definitely.
makes
the
complete
fatigue that
sense.
you're
Yes,
describing is
yes.
totally, yeah. Like I've got chairs everywhere because you have to sit and take a break just after you
Yeah,
do something.
Yeah, I have to
Yes.
sit
yeah,
down to cut my vegetables up. So
yeah,
just to back up just a little bit, Helen, I
yeah.
have not had to use this yet because I had that fear of, oh my God, when I get out of the car, is someone gonna like yell at me for not being, disabled. And so
Right.
my canned response is that I have already in my brain is, I am sorry, my disability is invisible to you, and then just keep walking. That's all you have to say.
Oh, that's
That's
good.
perfect, Kim. I
Just
love
that's
it.
Yeah.
all you have to
That's
do. You just
that's
say that
really
matter of
good.
fact. You don't have to argue. Don't waste your energy on them. Just matter of factly say, "I'm sorry, my disability is invisible to you," and just keep walking.
Wow.
But yeah, Helen, I've literally had the exact problem you're talking about. Like, one time my mother asked me to help a friend of hers by putting two ceiling fans up for her, which I did. And by the
Yeah.
time I was done, I was so utterly wrecked that when we went to Walmart to get a few bit of groceries, I had to use one of their carts to get around the store because I could not walk, literally.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I get it. I get it. I mean, it's like, and it feels so stupid for me anyway, because this has crept up on me. I I was I was better, just a few years ago. It's getting worse, and and I feel really
Hmm.
lucky. I mean, I feel like I didn't get diagnosed for a reason. I mean, to some extent, I was doing a lot better. Now it's really crashing in on me, and I feel like I was really lucky that it didn't crash earlier. and it's crashing now, and so I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I had blissfully some years of ignorance that okay, I kept getting sick, but in between I felt okay. And you guys have been dealing with it, knowing and being younger, and all of the different stories, and I guess all of us have different stories, but I feel like I got away with something, but now I'm not. And for what it's worth, it's like I I just don't know how I'm gonna, like, I,
Helen, have you tried any kind of stimulant medication like
yes,
Provigil,
I'm
Norvidrol,
taking
Ritalin?
Modafinil, and I'll tell you,
Y-
the first day I took it,
Uh-huh.
it was like rainbows and unicorns and the most wonderful thing I had ever done in my whole life. I felt like me again, like hadn't felt in years. It was so wonderful. And then the next day when I took it, it was like, nah.
Yeah.
It
I've had
it
the same problem. Like, well, it'll work like short term, and
yeah.
then if you keep it doesn't do anything. Yeah.
It's I have to take it because I know without it it would be worse.
What
But
dose are you on? What strength are you on? Or were they
200
able to?
milligrams a day, 200 milligrams a day. And he wants me to split it up. And I said, can you give me more?
Hey,
But
have
he said no.
have them try another stimulant. See if that works
He
for you.
he he doesn't want to try any. I think he likes this one. And I asked him about our modafinil, which I heard about. And I mean, I've been reading a lot.
Yeah, so
Or
he has
or
you on there's Provigil and Nuvigil, which are similar. The
mhm.
Nuvigil is the newer one.
Right, which is
Um,
one that I hear is great. But
I
great is a relative term because it's sort of like being an addict and chasing that first fix. You know,
Well, I don't think you were on a high. I think you were just being raised up to like closer to what your base level was previously. You weren't going above your base level. You were just kind of
no,
getting closer to your
I
baseline.
felt normal. I
But I
felt
feel
normal
amazing,
for a minute. Yeah,
nevertheless.
yeah, yeah. And then it was like, nope. So now it's like I take it, but I don't. And so
I
now I'm playing with coffee. Like I'm
I
trying.
mean, I would argue with your doctor about trying something else because just explain to your doctor what you told us. Like, I have to sit down to do this. I can't, just explain your fatigue. If they're not, can you go through someone else, like your primary care physician instead, if to get, I mean, you only can take one at
Yeah,
a time. They won't let you like take
right,
menagerie
right,
of it. But
right.
I would
We,
want to be with someone that would let me try something else just to see if it was more helpful.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
yeah.
you might have to like do like be able to do a stimulant on certain days, and then you have to give yourself the days where you take no stimulant and
That's
not
what
take them
I've
all the
heard.
time.
I mean, have you guys?
Hmm.
He says don't do that, but I have read, anecdotally on Reddit and stuff that people like take a holiday for a couple of days, and that seems
Hmm.
to help them. Uh,
Yeah.
have you any of you had that experience
So
at
I'll
all?
tell you my experience. What happened to me, I originally took Provigil and I had to
Yeah,
take a lower dose because the higher dose, even though it would give me like a baseline tremor that you couldn't see, but I could feel, and I
yeah,
just couldn't deal with that.
yeah,
So when I first took Provigil, I loved it because I kind of went, oh, I'm feeling
yeah,
more normal. Like I said, didn't go above my normal. It just made me closer to my baseline, my old baseline. And it
yeah,
worked great for a while, and then it just stopped working.
yeah.
And I've tried both Nirvigil, Provigil. I've tried methylphenidate. And then what's the other one that used to be used? It's for treating for something.
Adderall?
Nope, not Adderall. It's not a stimulant per se. It's used to treat something else. I'm completely blanking on it. I was on that one for a while.
Okay,
Anyone that knows it, it's older drug.
yeah,
I think of it. Sorry. So that was my experience. So I use stimulants on a very, very rare occasion where I'm just like, I have to get it through the day because I don't get that response to them anymore.
yeah.
And
Oh,
if I use too high of a dose, I'll get like essentially like the baseline tremor.
yeah. And what scares me more also is that I'm so tired and I know I should be exercising because I, I'm kind of slowly killing myself if I don't. And yet I'm so tired that
Mhm.
it's the last thing I want to do. It's like just to do that is just it feels impossible. I have a stationary bike and it's like this mental torture for me to even I I didn't used to be this way. I don't understand it. It's like a mental block almost to
Well,
make myself
it's a
exercise.
progressive disease, Helen.
Yeah,
And that's what, when you're talking, I'm concerned about the progression, and is it appropriate for you to go on a DMT? I'm not certain, and that be a conversation with you have with your neurologist?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Would it
Okay.
be better to slow down some of the things that are happening? I
Yeah,
again, I don't know. My husband and I are both I'm almost 50, and
yeah,
I'm still taking a DMT because I don't want the disease to progress.
yeah,
But I don't know if you've plateaued or if you can track some of the things that have happened to you
yeah,
to
yeah,
see if it has.
yeah,
Helen, I'm 72 years old,
yeah,
and I've hit a plateau, and I have not really progressed much in the last 5 or 6 years.
yeah.
Uh, Again, I'm not on a DMT. I am now in a wheelchair all the time. Uh,
Hmm.
it's just a progressive disease,
Yeah,
and I I
Yeah,
don't I don't expect that a DMT would do me any good, and the doctors have told me it's not going to do me any good.
yeah,
And as a matter of fact, Mike is on with us, and I think his is about the same thing.
yeah.
Uh,
Well,
it
that's
would,
the issue because we're old now. I mean, it's not even, I mean, you get to a certain point where people who don't have MS end up in wheelchairs. So, it's almost like, okay, at a certain point, even my healthy friends are feeling, and are having problems. So, you know, at what point do you,
Yeah, is
I
it aging or is it the MS?
right,
Exactly.
because there's a
I'm
lot
I
of
just turned
overlap.
I just
yeah,
turned 55 and I am just barely making the cut for the study that I'm hoping to get into.
Yeah,
And I mean it's like prematurely old, you know? Yeah, we get cut off and then medication. It's frustrating.
yes.
that's one of the things that has me really concerned is just how much progression I've had within the last 3 years. I
Yeah,
mean, I've gone from my cognition declining to having just absolutely no energy, having my mobility issues, and like just not this past weekend, but the one before, I went to a Renaissance fair that I usually go to, and I have usually or had no problems going around it, but this year I got maybe about 30 minutes of walking in before I had to find a bench, and I parked myself there for the last like 5 hours
yep,
and just could not get the energy to get up and be able to force myself to really walk around.
yep,
Yeah.
yep,
I, I
yep,
used
My, go ahead.
I used to play golf twice a week, and it got to the point that I couldn't, and I always walked the golf course and
yeah,
pulled my golf clubs along behind me. Got to the point where I could not do it anymore. And I mean, it was a simple fact of I didn't have the stamina to be able to walk around a golf course, a 9-hole golf course.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
Um,
something we have to adjust. We have to adjust and adapt.
yeah,
and I will say this, and I am embarrassed on how many years it took me to figure this out. But when I say it, you'll be like, well, duh. But I'm like serious here. The best thing to help me manage my fatigue was listening to my body and listening to my intuition. And I know that sounds like so like duh, but
yeah,
that really helped me get to oh, yeah, I need to, but I don't want to. Yeah, but my body says I need to lay down. And so I lay down. And I found out by doing that, listening to my intuition and listening to my body, I can do more things than I think. I don't crash and burn as much. So there
Yeah.
was a point in time where I was like bed bound for like 5.5 months where I couldn't even, if the food wasn't ready to eat or microwave, I couldn't make it. I couldn't boil
Yeah.
water on the stove to make macaroni and cheese. That was too much work. So I always have, when I have like spikes in my fatigue, which has happened like the last couple of weeks, I always have that fear like, oh, am I
Yeah.
going to be in bed for another 5.5 months? Am I going to that again?
I
And
know.
that's really been key for me, is listening to my body and following my intuition. And like, I will disagree with my intuition. That's why it's called intuition, because
Mac,
it'll tell you something. You're like, what? No.
Yeah.
mac and cheese ain't worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
The
just,
problem is, though, that the goal line keeps changing. That's the bullshit. Like,
Right.
you
I
know, last week I had one great day and I paid for 3 days for that bloody
yeah.
day. Now,
Yeah.
this week I'm having a good day. And guess what? Do I listen to myself? No.
Mm.
I vacuum the whole house and I wash the floors because I finally feel good enough to do it and I can't stand to look at the dirt anymore and I'll just pay. I don't
Right.
care.
Right.
But the goal line
Bye.
keeps changing too.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Amy.
Yeah.
Oh, bye, Amy.
Yeah, she left.
Uh,
Um,
yeah.
Michelle, did you have any further questions or anything you wanted to talk about tonight?
Well, I came across in my research, I came across these two drugs that I had never heard of. So I want to see if anybody was familiar with them.
what
One
are
is
their names?
described as a miracle drug for MS, and it's called OCRELIZUMAB.
Ocrelizumab?
Yeah.
Ocrelizumab.
That's Ocrevus. Okay. What was the
Ocrevus.
Oh,
other
that, oh,
drug?
that's
Yeah.
it's Ocrevus. Okay. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
Ocrelizumab, is that what you were spelling out?
Yeah. That's what
Yeah,
what's
that's the
the whole
generic name
thing.
for Ocrevus. And what was the second drug?
Okay. Second drug is PONESIMOD. Ponvorine.
I'm not
New
familiar.
drug for MS relapse. That's what they describe it as.
Mm.
I've never heard of that one.
I'm seeing. Oh,
Ponbury?
that's Concepta. No, Ponvory. Ponvory is the brand name.
Okay.
Kisepto?
No,
Kesimpta.
Ponvory.
Okay.
Ponvory.
Right.
Uh,
Okay. Has there
yeah. So
anyone
it's.
ever used it before?
Well, let's see if it's approved. I think
They
it's
said it was
brand
FDA
new.
approved in 2020. Yeah,
Well,
2021.
it's approved
It said
based on
FDA
evidence.
approved.
Yeah, so who makes?
Michelle, are you taking anything right now? I'm sorry, I can't remember if you said that.
No problem. It's the glatiramer acetate. The
Okay.
three injections a week.
Okay, so that would be like Copaxone, like
It was
some,
originally Copaxone, right? That's the brand name,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
right?
you're taking the
I
generic of that.
just wonder if maybe if I'm just saying, maybe you want to think about something like Ocrevus or maybe an inject in like
Infusion.
there
Or
we
an
go.
oral
Thank
pill,
you. Like an
infusion or an oral
infusion
pill.
or an oral pill, something a
So
little more B cell depleting.
my question
Well,
is,
it's
Michelle.
it's about what the Veterans Administration is willing to pay for. This
Okay.
thing, even though it's a generic, it's up towards it's six figures. I mean, that's sold like 80 grand or
Yeah,
some
it's
nonsense.
expensive.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
So
Um, Michelle,
I'm lucky to be getting this.
Michelle, we
Hmm?
have a really terrific veterans group, and
Really?
I'm here.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Can you hear
I can
me?
hear you. Yes. Hmm.
We have a really terrific veterans group. It meets in this same room on the fourth Thursday of every month. The fourth Thursday.
Okay.
and it meets at 8
Okay.
o'clock. It starts half hour earlier than we did tonight. Now,
Okay.
that group is all about how to navigate and how to get your benefits. So there are people in
Mhm.
that group who are real experts at how, if you're not getting something from the VA, how to get it from the VA and how to appeal
Mhm.
through the VA. And I really think you might get well, more than something, a lot out of it. The guys that run it are all, well, some of them are vets. Uh, One of them is a vet who spent his whole career as a social worker in the VA. Another is a physician on our advisory board who was an addiction psychiatrist the whole of his career in the VA. So these
Mhm.
guys, they kind of see it from the inside and they know how to work the ins and the outs. So
Mhm.
associated with that, and forgive me, I left to go to the other group and came back. If we have your email address and you're registered with us,
Mhm.
um, we will sign you up to get a reminder, like you got a reminder for this group.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
or if you're not yet registered, Michelle, if you put your thing in the chat window, I'll register you, and then you'll get a reminder. But for any vets anywhere, you know, we got generals in that group who never realized they could get their drugs for $11 a month, and
Wow.
silly stuff like that. But when you say to me, well, I could be having trouble getting Ocrevus through the VA, then I start thinking, well, if that's a problem, we got to talk to Genentech, and we got to lean on Genentech to start making sure that they're getting Ocrevus into the VA. But I don't know enough about other diseases. I do know, but that's what comes to
Well,
me right away. We'd love to see you in that group.
well, we'll chat. I don't want to. I don't want to tie up the meeting from other people, but yeah, because it's a lot. And I did get a lawyer to get my benefits just for on TDIU. But
Right. So you got, darling, you got to come into the group. Do we have your email
okay,
address, or would you be willing to give it to me over the
I can
group?
give it to you. I'm
Well, do
right
you want
Go
now.
to
ahead.
just,
I had to go.
can you put it in the chat or else it goes recorded on YouTube? So I
I'm
prefer,
trying to get into the chat area, but I had to go to a smartphone because my computer went
Yeah.
out. So
That's what concerns me.
um
I'll tell you what. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's my email. You can send it to me or send it to Kim. I'm
okay.
rd at ancan.org. R as in Rick, D as in Davis. RD at ancan, ANCAN.org.
Got it.
Or Kim at ancan.org. And if you send it to one of us, we'll make sure that we get you into the database. And that goes for anybody who isn't already in the database. I suspect Helen and Tim are already in there.
Yeah, so
Kim,
that's Romeo Delta at ancan.com. .com.
exactly.
org.
.org.
Dot org, not dot
.org.
com.
.org.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Michelle Ocrevus, if you're curious, and I'm not trying to push you into a drug, but this is from one MS person to another. Ocrevus has a pretty awesome patient assistance program. So if you're concerned
Mhm.
about the cost, I think that they would be most willing to help you. Just something to
I'm a
think
side effect person.
about.
I'm taking, my doctor gave me the gluturamine because I said I wanted something with the least amount of side effects. I mean, I can't imagine taking drugs for one problem and then end up with another problem. And I know for a fact because I have a friend who was taking something like that for her MS, and she ended up in the hospital with a heart attack. I said, see, now you got another bill that you have to pay that was caused by some other nonsense. And this thing is
Understand.
driven by what? 90% stress? Wonder?
The only thing
I
I'm concerned about, Michelle, is that Copaxone, what you're taking, is one of the older drugs. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's probably like the fourth
Yes.
drug that was approved for MS
Right.
that was not taken off the market. And now I think
Right.
we're over, I don't know, you guys probably know better, like 22, 23 drugs for MS now. I'm
Mm.
probably wrong. It's in over 20 total. So
Mhm.
I would like to see you on a newer drug that might be more effective. And the great thing is,
Mhm.
since there's so many drugs, if you're having a side effect, you can switch to another
Mm.
drug.
Okay.
I don't want you to
All
have
right.
a fear
Thank
of
you.
side effects and be stuck on maybe a drug that might be not as effective
Mm.
as a newer drug,
Right.
if that makes sense.
I would love to get my gait back. I'm right
Yeah.
now. I am classified as a homeless house vet. I mean, I had homeless, but I stay with a combat vet who's very upset to watch what's happening to me because we're lifelong friends, and sometimes she gets very stressed, and it makes me stress. And so we get into it, and then it's not good. It's not a good
No,
situation. So,
no,
Have
no,
they
no, no.
given you the drug Ampera, which is like known as the walking drug?
oh, I've
Sam
never
from
even heard of Ampere.
Imidine? Okay.
Wow. See, that's why
Let
I'm
me.
here for this
I'm
meeting.
gonna put it in the
Thank
chat
you.
for you, Michelle. I'll put the brand name and the generic name in there for you.
Uh
Can
Good
huh.
can
news
you get
about.
to
Okay.
the chat, Michelle? Can you see the chat?
I can't. That's what I'm saying. I can't even see it.
Okay,
Yeah. Mm,
just
yeah.
just send us that email, and between Kim and I, we'll get the information back to you for sure.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much. Thank
You
Okay,
you.
can
That's why I
send the
came
and
to this.
and
transcript of the chat too.
and
Oh yeah,
and
on
you know,
my smartphone.
yeah, I know it's hard on the smartphone to see the chat,
It
to
doesn't
go
work.
back and forth, but it's really, I think between this group and the vets group, and if you've got a lawyer, I think we can provide a bunch of support to you, which is what we really want to do. Tim,
Well, I know
did you?
one.
Um,
He got the benefits for me in the first place.
okay.
So yeah.
Tim, did you get a reminder before this meeting?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great. So you guys, Helen and Tim have signed up. We just got to sign up, Michelle, and you got some hands up. So go back to Kim.
Oh, I'm just saying, Tim, what is a walking drug? It's the one that's supposed to help with your walking ability.
Oh, okay.
The gate.
Sorry, I did not explain that, Tim. I apologize.
Mhm.
And is it actually a cheap drug? You actually can get it the cheapest I've seen, 'cause a lot of people, it's super expensive, but you can get it fairly cheaper through the Mark Cuban's pharmacy. I think it's like $50 for like 3 months
Oh,
supply or
okay.
something.
Okay.
Oh, I'll do that.
I just have to
Yes.
interject that I actually get it for free. Like from my very first neurologist, they registered me with the company and I have gotten it for free ever since, 6 years.
Mhm.
Excellent.
So their company
Wow.
is good. Yeah.
But if you're
Okay.
having problems
Thank
with
you.
walking, that's a drug a lot of MS people use to help with their walking.
Okay.
Oh, that would be awesome.
And it
Oh
comes in
my
Some for you
generic.
gosh.
maybe too, Helen.
Really?
Yeah,
Consider.
yeah. Write that
Mm-hmm.
down.
Yep.
And I don't know the name of Mark Cuban's pharmacy. Just Google Mark Cuban pharmacy and
Okay.
you'll figure. The only thing they have to do is when they send the electronic prescription, they have to put your email address on the prescription that you registered with, and that's how they match you up with the
Okay.
prescription. Yeah. So
Okay.
they have to be able to do that. And but that I helped a friend of mine get on it through Des Moines because our neurologist was like, I've never heard of this before, blah blah blah. And I'm like, would you care where she gets her drugs? Like, not as long as it's in the U.S. I'm like, cool, this is American, we're cool. And they're like, oh, I can't find it. I'm like, oh no, you can find it. They figured it out. My friend was patient zero, and now now they send everyone through Mark Cuban Pharmacy for that drug.
Hey,
But you
Kim,
just have to be patient.
Wow.
So, yeah.
is
Wow.
it good RX?
It's not GoodRx. That is a discount
Okay.
program that's completely
Yeah.
different. If you give
Okay.
me a second, I'll Google it and tell you the name of it. It's a really
Yeah.
generic name for a
I'm
pharmacy.
just trying to think.
John?
Okay, it is called Cost Plus Drugs. That is the name of the pharmacy. I'll put that in there.
Cost plus?
Cost Plus Drugs is Mark Cuban's pharmacy. And they have also other MS drugs
like DMTs on there too. It's a small selection, but there are some of them, and there's other drugs in there too if you're having struggles. Some of them aren't cheaper, but some of them are, and some of them can be like literally thousands of dollars of difference. It's ridiculous. I
Wow.
know my friend, before I got her onto the Mark Cuban's pharmacy, she was getting it compounded at a slightly different strength because it was cheaper to get it compounded than to pay the generic price through a commercial pharmacy. So, yeah,
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome. And hopefully, if you go to that veterans group, you can get the ins and outs of the VA. I think that'll be incredibly valuable for you. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and tell your friends about the veterans group if you've got friends. John, you got your hand up for a while. I got something on my mind for Michelle, but you've had your hand up for a while.
Yeah, I've got a lot to talk about. The construction starts Monday. Yay! All the
can you
stuff.
explain to everyone in the who are new in the group what that means? What
I'm
that?
having renovations done to my house to put in a wheelchair accessible shower, wet room. We're putting in a lift track in the ceiling. We are building another door in our bedroom so that we have two different exits, and that's going to go down a ramp onto a deck and then down into our patio. We are getting push button door openers. We're just making the house a lot better and accessible. Um, the down part is I have to live in a hotel for a while. And if anyone says you're going to love it when you're done, I'm going to mail you some of my tortoise's shit. And it's stinky because I know that it's going to be okay. But fuck, I'm in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Hotels aren't comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, what if this causes a relapse, guys? Or some
Mm.
progression or something?
How long are you going to be in the hotel, you think, John?
Between 3 and 8 weeks. 3 for sure.
Oh,
More if they're not ready for us to come back in. But even when we come back in, we're going to be sleeping on a mattress in the living room, and I don't function on
What?
contractor time.
Yeah.
Like I heard there was an 8 o'clock a.m. one time, but God, that's gonna be every day pounding.
Uh, uh, it's a lot, John. It's a lot. Your
So
whole world is just getting turned inside out, hey?
yeah, Jennifer, I'm going to come and stay at your place for a little while.
Feel free.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it'd be nice to meet you face to face.
absolutely.
Maybe this
And
is a good time for you to go on a little vacay, John.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
you're
I, I
you're
would,
you're
I would,
familiar
but
with Mount Pleasant, so come on
yeah,
down.
yeah,
We'll hit the bird.
do they have vacations that are appropriate for people like us?
yes, absolutely. There are
Yes, but you
cruises for
have to
disabled people.
work to make it. There's a great blog, or I think she's also on YouTube. It's called Tripping on Air. Are you familiar with it? She
Yeah,
No.
travels all over, and she is very. And then who is the person I sent to you, Jennifer and John, the Michigan gal? She does not have MS, but a different disease, and she was amazing.
I don't remember her name because I really disliked her. So
Oh,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry. I thought.
No, like I watched a bunch of videos and I was like, wow, this person just is not for me.
Mm.
John,
Um,
can I just ask you? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jennifer.
no, that's okay, Carmen. You ask, and then I'm going to ask John a totally selfish question.
I
All
just
right.
am wondering if you have any control over where you're staying. Like, are you getting to choose the hotel? I know it's still not ideal,
Oh,
but do you have any
yeah,
control over that part of it?
100%. Like we are staying in a
Okay.
hotel that's like 5 minutes away from our house. And
Okay.
like we're gonna try to come back here every day, check on the tortoise, let the dogs run around the backyard, and generally be snoopy about how far they're doing on the stuff. So that's a. I'm going to try to find a little bit of a sedative. I've already asked my doctor, like, hey, I've heard Xanax works well, but like, what else can we work with? And they called and we talked all about stuff, and they have to talk to other doctors and blah blah blah, whatever. But it will be nice to be out of the house. Don't get me wrong, I have my cross shoulder bag that I'm gonna have my laptop in and all that stuff. And I'll go down to the lobby and talk to everyone. And we actually have someone who's staying next to us long term, and he has a cat, so that'll be fun as well. Um, but some other things that happened in the past week. Last week, things got so crazy that I forgot to take my morning medicine for 3 days in a row.
Oh no.
Oops. Oopsie.
Yeah, so I was a pleasant son of a bitch to be around. And in that time, our little dog got loose. Our car was in the shop at the same time, so we couldn't find her by car. I was in the house feeling helpless, but I said, this is an emergency. And I walked my ass halfway across the house, sat down, and scooted on out there. Melissa's like, were you in your chair already? Like, nope, I just did that. And so that was scary because now we had to like find out where she was getting out from. And she's like a little Yorkie, so she'll dig. But anyways, and then we got the car back like quote from the shop, and we're not putting $9,500 in a like 10-year-old car. So we were looking for cars. We were able to bring the old car home, and the next time Melissa turned it on, it started smoking. So the car like engine like started burning. Big stressor number 2. So now we're being forced to get a car because there are no rentals that would work for us, that will work for us, that we can lease or whatever. So we bought a new car that was just 5 years younger than the last car, the exact same one, because we tried a Pacifica and I could not get in the seat at all because the seat in it is about 6 inches. No, like, it was about 8 inches further back. That's 8. But there's like a bigger gap there, and so when I went to sit down, I felt like I was sitting down with my back up to the side of the seat. So, anyways, new car, a new used car, getting that going. Well, I'm not on my medicine, so I'm wonky. Matilda gets loose, and hotel's coming up soon. So here's some success stories for our newbies. I graduated PT a couple weeks back. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Yay.
Still go to OT, and today at OT I dressed myself.
That's
I already
great.
had my brief on and my sweatpants on, so he made me put a brief on over my sweatpants and then pull shorts up while wearing
Oh,
like grippy
geez.
socks. You know what I mean? Like hospital socks. And he's like, it's going to be so much easier for you when you don't have anything on and you're just putting these on. And where I'm sitting right now, I know that I'll be able to dress myself from. So that was a big thing.
That's
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm new friends. I'm in a wheelchair after I had COVID. I was doing just fine, and then COVID, along with 2 surgeries, really just knocked me out.
Yeah.
Just put me in a wheelchair. Um,
Wow.
but I am mobile. Like I can transfer to my into my car and stuff like that. But yeah,
Hey, John, hang on
yeah.
one sec. I think Rick is trying to say maybe goodbye. I don't know. He's trying to get our
No,
attention.
no.
Rick, is everything okay?
No. I had my hand up
Okay.
for something else, but
Okay. Sorry.
I
I'm
can
sorry
wait.
to
Sorry,
interrupt,
I
John.
should have.
Okay. Go ahead, John.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, no, not a problem. Thanks, Carmen. I didn't notice. Yeah, so there's good and there's bad. Things are more difficult. I changed. I'm seeing my therapist weekly now for the next couple of weeks until I get settled in. Um, and it's going to work out just fine. I just know that I need to keep physically mobile. Like just not sit in my chair all day, up and around. Um, with the, I had a neuropsych exam, by the way. I'm normalizing, which means I'm getting slower at stuff with the rate of MS. Like I'm not way out. I'm just progressing with being forgetful and stuff. Um, so yeah, so that turned out fine. It was nice. I did whatever. I repeated the words back, and it was only a 2-hour test, which is nice because sometimes they're up to 6 hours. Especially when we live an hour away from where the testing center was. So that's an 8-hour day, and that. Sorry, but that
Mine was
doesn't.
4.
What's that? Yours was 4.
Mine was about 4.5 roughly.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, like I said, there's fun, positive things, but for a bit, the negative things really took over. We made a plan to what I'm going to do it in the hotel room. Jennifer, not to steal your thunder, but I'm going to try to make like some daily YouTube videos about what I'm living and what I'm doing in there.
Okay, and why don't you plan on making a video about MS State Action Day on Tuesday?
That's
Because
right.
you will be representing Michigan on Tuesday, won't you?
Yes, I
You will
will
be
be.
advocating with me at 1 o'clock Eastern Time on Tuesday. This
Perfect.
is my subtle hint in John that we need you there Tuesday, MS State Action Day for
Are
those of
you
us in Michigan.
wait? Are you guys going to the Capitol?
No, it's
Okay,
virtual this
the
year.
virtual one. Yeah, yeah. No,
It's,
absolutely,
it's
absolutely.
yep. And then also I want to make a ploy because we're Eastern Standard Time. And Helen, I'm sorry I didn't catch where you said you are. And
I'm in
Michelle,
Massachusetts.
okay, and Michelle, I didn't catch where you are either. But there is a 1:30 group that meets 1:30 Eastern. So Massachusetts, if
Atlanta, Georgia.
and you're
Sorry,
in
Atlanta,
Georgia,
Georgia.
so 1:30 in the afternoon on the fourth Tuesday of the month. Because I don't know about you all, but I'm sleepy come 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
I'm I'm like I'm a yeah. And so
yeah,
I just wanted to make that pitch.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
definitely.
1:30 Eastern. 1:30 Eastern.
Right.
Sleep
10:30
is so
Pacific.
important.
It is.
Well,
Yeah.
we understand if you need to go, Jennifer. We appreciate having you tonight.
Yes.
Hi, Jennifer. I want to meet you
Hold
this
on,
year.
before you go, how did Dan do in his finals? Because last time he was studying for his finals for the
He's doing very well, thank you. He is 2 weeks into his next semester. Once this class finishes, he'll be halfway through the program. So this time next year, he'll be done with the program. So thank you, Rick. He's doing well.
great.
And yes. So it
Tell
was
him we
nice.
said tell him we said hi and we miss him, please.
I will very much. And it was nice to meet you all, but
You
um
Nice
as
to
well.
meet you too.
Go
okay,
hard on
but
Tuesday.
all right, yes,
Yeah.
thank you. We'll connect later. Bye, Frank. Take care.
Night.
Bye, Mike.
Bye.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
I'm going to ride out of here in her wake. Her speedy
Hey,
wake. I'm going to get into
hey,
that, and
hey,
I'm gonna.
John, good luck. Good luck with all your stuff and getting
Yeah,
yourself
yeah,
resettled to your,
Yeah,
like, you're going to
definitely.
go through some serious turmoil here, and
yeah.
who
But
cares
you
if
know
it's going
what?
to be nice at the end? You still
I've
have
I've
to go
got
through it.
nice. Didn't I say I was gonna get some of my tortoise shit and mail it to you?
That's what I said. I said, who cares if it's going to be nice in the end?
It's
You
just
still
an
have to go through this
experience.
stuff.
Send
I'm
that to
acknowledging
Canada,
it.
John, just so you know.
No, no.
No, listen. And I've got the best person in the world with me there.
Yeah,
My wife, in case you didn't know.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so she's gonna make it good, comfortable.
You guys have a plan and it's going to go.
Yeah.
It's going to go
And I
okay.
mean, we have a Switch, and I just bought a Zelda game. So I mean, there's me.
What more do you need?
Nothing.
Yeah, I would just
All
look
right,
at it
friends, take
as
it
an
easy.
Night.
Night, everyone.
opportunity
No.
to be outside the box and give yourself time to grow and experience. And
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll be having a rough time too at the same time, John. So don't feel free
Yeah,
to reach
John,
out. So
when you're in that lobby, make sure you tell people who might need AnCan that we're here, not just for MS, for all the other things we do too.
I think he might have froze up.
I think he froze.
Yeah. I'm going to say goodnight too. It was
Okay.
great to be here, and I will be back on that Tuesday as well.
Yep,
From
in the
2 to
morning.
1:30.
So
Yep.
I will be missing that day because it's a day before my surgery, so I will not be
Right.
here. But some other amazing
I plan
moderators
to be there.
will be there to moderate, and you'll have a
Well,
great,
good luck
amazing
on your surgery. What are you doing?
fusion, spinal fusion, and
Oh,
Oh,
decompression. So yeah,
ouch.
it's gonna be
Well,
it's
yikes.
the nasty pain for a while, and hopefully it'll
yeah.
clear up after. Yeah, I'm not.
Yes. Well, good luck.
I did want
And
the surgery, but I want to be able to do more things than I can do right now. So
absolutely, sometimes we
Helen,
have to do it. Yep.
I just wanted to tell you, like, the fatigue thing,
Yes.
it's new to you, but
Yeah.
you will figure out how to navigate it better. It's with experience. Like,
Yeah.
even though I said the goal line keeps changing, you do, like when Kim was talking about listening to your intuition, that
Yeah.
comes after you've experienced like pushing it too far and learning a few things, but
Yeah.
also like it comes with a little bit of self-patience and acceptance. And these are
Yeah.
all things that I'm working on and saying out loud just so my brain hears them too. But it
Yeah.
does get easier to manage when you just kind of plan for it instead of it letting it catch you off guard and piss you off every time. That's just my suggestion from
Thank
someone that
you.
deals with it
yeah.
all the time.
Uh,
And don't judge yourself, Helen or
Yeah.
Tim or
yeah.
anybody dealing. Like, don't judge. There's no shame. You just meet where your body is at.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. I know it's
It's
hard,
hard. Yeah.
and it's
It's very hard.
really
Very
easy
hard.
to get into the, well, I used to be like that. Well, that's not who you are right now, and that's totally
Yeah.
okay. There's
Yeah.
nothing
Yeah,
wrong with that. So you
yeah.
have to
Thank
be very careful with that.
The
Yeah.
phrase I use lately with that is this is my new normal.
Yeah.
This is what I have to deal with now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't
Yeah.
know if any of you have heard of the spoon theory. If you
I
haven't
have.
heard about that, yeah.
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 Yeah,
Just
it's just that some days I just don't have any spoons. I
yep.
mean, and it
Yeah.
just it's just
It just is
shocking.
then.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
It's
So,
hard. It's
Yeah,
Well,
I
hard to
mean,
be in an
yeah.
environment when you when you're
there's
with somebody watching you deteriorate from where you were because they're obsessed with where you were
Yeah.
and they don't
well,
understand that.
and that's
I
the
mean,
thing.
I
And
spent 17 years playing
yeah.
football, playing flag football and competitive football while this thing was doing what it was doing to my body, and
Yeah.
then it asserted itself. So
Yeah.
now for them to see me not being able to walk a straight line,
Yeah.
I mean, to just my gait is all off.
Yeah.
I mean, they having a hard time. So it's about the caregivers too, or the people around you having to deal with them.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
got to be if you have to. I wish I would like to live by myself. I'd be okay. But
And
to have
that
this
I think
stress, this.
that's it. And it's hard, I think, with my partner because he didn't know me back then. And
Hmm.
to some extent there's a sense that I'm getting lazy, and
Mm.
it's I know it's not that, and I can't, there's no way to show him. I wish I could I wish I could let him inside my skin so that he could feel
Mm-hmm.
what I'm feeling,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't. And so there's this real sense of it's a loneliness. There's a real sense of
Mm-hmm.
feeling like I'm the only person that knows what this
And the
is.
ongoing grieving too,
Yes.
because every
Yeah, it's
day you're
something.
just
Mhm. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
something you
feeling
have
more
to
and more
always
loss.
grieve, and then you get to your new normal, and like, okay, we're cool, you're cool,
Mhm.
and then the new normal changes. You're like, whoa, I wasn't ready for this yet, and then you have to
Right.
go through the grieving and being okay, and
I
Right.
always
that's
say that it's not just me that has MS. Like my husband has it too, because he's the one on the other side watching me. I mean,
Right.
I hauled plywood sheets up 2 flights of stairs and did renovations with him, and now I'm in an electric chair. Like
Yeah.
I
Oh
still
God.
walk, but
Oh
I
God.
save my energy,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he's had to see that.
Yeah.
Just is.
Uh,
So
But
yeah.
I just wanted to say quickly, if any of the newbies want to reach out to anybody in the group that's either still here or was here earlier, just let me or Kim know, and
Oh,
we'll get you the email addresses. If you want to reach out to Carmen, or we don't have a
great.
Andrea, you want to reach out to Kim or Frank, please just let us know, and we're happy to connect you. And
Well, that's great. I mean, I guess what I'd like to know, what I am hoping is that you guys are going to be, at some of these meetings or often enough because I'm going to keep coming back and we'll get to know each other a little better and hopefully, there'll be that and then, we will be connecting more and that's kind of the aim. I don't know anybody here that has MS
Helen,
and, you know, it's nice. It's a comfort to be able to talk to other people that are experiencing some of what I am. I mean, even though everybody has it differently, it's still, the same weird, strange, surprising disease, and you never know what's
Yeah.
going to happen next.
mhm.
Helen, it sounds like you and I are actually honestly going through a lot of the exact same things from what
Really,
we both said. I
yeah,
mean, with the reading and the exhaustion and some of the mobility, I mean,
yeah.
it's kind of like carbon copy of what I'm going through.
Okay. Yeah, I mean the only difference, unfortunately for you, is that you only have one band, and but they didn't want to call what I had MS for 5 years. It took me, going from one doctor to another, and several MS doctors too, and neurologists, and you name it, heart doctors, and I mean I saw
Frank,
everybody.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
Frank, you wanted to say something.
I was just going to say, Helen, it took me 13 years to get the diagnosis.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I believe
So,
it. It was really
so,
30 for me. Over 30.
wow.
Silly.
you got to
Yeah.
learn that MS is your friend.
Yeah.
You just
Well,
you just have to make sure that it knows that you're in control.
yeah. Yeah.
Not
Mm.
him.
So
Mm.
let me ask a question for everyone here. Maybe someone can help me with this.
Yeah.
Maybe not you, Carmen, because it may be different for you in Canada. But in filing for disability, is it, I mean, still possible to actually get disability, even though, like, if I end up having to go like 13 years, like Frank did, to get a diagnosis? I mean, is it still possible to get onto disability?
Him, I can
yes.
almost
So
guarantee you'll get denied the first time.
yeah, you're gonna get
Right.
probably denied the first couple of times until you get to a judge. My neurologist here in Des Moines said, I don't know what, I think it was like maybe 10 or 15 years ago, they switched it and made it really hard to get on. Now, some people, if you have more of a walking issue, they
Mm.
seem to get onto it a little bit easier. But if you're not having the walking issues, they seem to deny you more. But I was denied 2 times. I said F that, and then I had to reapply a couple years later. I got denied those first 2 times. I saw had the judge, and then I got it on disability.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if,
yeah,
if you get a diagnosis of MS, if they finally cave and give you a diagnosis, you'll get it. But
But then
it's
you have a
harder.
medical review after so many years.
Yeah,
So
I
like
think
I
that
think
it's a sad commentary about our society that they assume that nobody wants to work. That's absurd.
it is.
I mean, I was working in a high profile profession that
Yeah,
probably brought it on a lot
Hmm.
quicker, called media.
right,
You think I just walked away because I just didn't want to work anymore? I mean, I think
right.
it's offensive to me.
It is
I mean, and
offensive.
so, I mean, how
Agreed.
dare you?
I asked that
Oh,
to
we
my
don't want to work.
lawyer. I would recommend too, Tim, if you do disability, I would hire a lawyer because I know with my cognition issues, and it was just mentally hard for me to go on disability because they give you these questions, and essentially you have to tell them why you suck so bad that you can't work. And that
Right.
was really depressing for me. And my cognition brain was just like, bleh, and having problem
Yeah.
focusing. So get a lawyer. I would recommend if you do disability. It would be more helpful with an MS diagnosis, but if you don't have that, you could still try. And I just forgot what I was going to go with that. I've totally lost my thoughts. Give me a
Yeah. See,
second.
I had the same problem because about as of about 3 years ago, I was working six-figure jobs, and now I really only have the mental cognition enough to do something that's like $21 an hour.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, I've had a complete loss of what I used to be able to do.
Yeah, so when I asked my lawyer, hey, do I have a case? He's like, absolutely, because nobody in your field just one ups and quits one day and says, I don't want to work. Like that's just not, you know, you did everything, you went to schooling and things like that. So no, that's not. So it was refreshing that my lawyer did not think I was just trying to live off the system and just decided to want to work one day. So that was really, really nice to hear someone like, okay, you actually believe me. Yes, I believe that you're having fatigue and these cognition issues and you can't do your job and it's hard to work. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's just
it's
it's
frustrating when
terrible to hear all that that we all have to go through in various different ways, and it's honestly for someone who's starting out in this, it's very disheartening.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
uh, in learning how to deal with that, I mean, yeah, I can deal with the new normal of the way that or the things that my body's doing and all that, but just the loss of like confidence and everything that we get from these things that is the part that kills me the most.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I
And
guess that's part of
it's
being on this group too, though. Like, hopefully, we can be cheerleaders for you and also just validate some of the stuff that you're going through, even though our experiences might be different, but to tell you that there is a light at the end of the tunnel and be that support. But
yeah,
I hear you, Tim. Like, yeah, it's challenging to hear all the different challenging stories, but hopefully you can get a little bit of also encouragement and validation here.
Yeah. And that's what I'm looking for because the MS Society of America gave me the link for this, and then my therapist, I also sent him the email that they sent me, and he's like, okay, these are the ones I think you should go for, and this was one of the ones that was on that list that he was kind of pushing me towards.
right,
So that's how I ended up here.
right.
Well, we're glad you
I'm glad
came.
you're I'm also glad you're seeing a therapist. I mean, we've had people like I don't it's just like, look, the comorbidity of MS and depression is quite high. I think it's like 50%. And like, and are we depressed because we have MS or is MS actually creating a depression? I don't know.
Right.
But
Yeah,
it's
Thank
important
you.
I
to
think a
address
little
Thank
bit
you
of
that.
for
column A,
that.
a little bit of column B.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably
Thank
both.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you feel crappy, of course you're going to be depressed. I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
it just follows. So,
I mean,
um,
there's like days where I have good days and I can deal with this like it's no problem. And then there's other days when I'm laying there in bed and the numbness in my feet is going on and I can't feel or move my toes. And
yeah,
I try and finally go into a shower and I've got the water so hot that it hurts the rest of my skin, but yet I can't feel a bit of the temperature on my feet. So it's like feeling or going through things like that all the time. Sometimes I get so annoyed with it and I'm so tired of it. I'm just like, can't I be normal for just a few more days, please? Just a little
yeah,
bit?
Yeah, yeah.
So let me
I
ask
feel
you
you.
this
I feel you,
question, Tim.
Tim.
Okay.
So when you're dealing with all these feelings, how are you dealing with that? Are you shoving it inside of you? Are you finding a healthy, non-maladaptive way to release it? How are you dealing with these emotions? Because we have these
So
crazy emotions because we're dealing with all this crappy stuff. So tell me about that.
um, okay, so I don't know if this is a subject that is okay to discuss on here or not, but I do live in a state where
Oh, we talk about
medical
marijuana all the
marijuana,
time. We
yeah,
talk about
Oh
marijuana
yeah.
all the time.
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
So
totally.
um,
Yeah.
I've got my medical card, and um, I find that when I do just a little bit of that at night, it's enough to take my mind off of everything and
Okay.
allow me to just relax a little bit and realize, okay, there are other things that I can point my attention towards. Now, the only thing that sucks about it is that when I do that, it makes the numbness in my feet worse.
Okay.
Mm.
Mm.
Something about that, I don't know what it is the numbness is way worse. So it's a trade-off. I'm going to basically deal
Okay.
with my feet being completely dead to the world, but everything else, I'm feeling perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a definite trade-off, unfortunately.
Let me
Yeah.
ask it in a different way, Tim. So the stuff that was bothering you earlier this week or last week, have you been able to let it go? Or is it still festering inside of you and you're still pissed off
Um,
about
like I said, it comes and goes. There's some
it? Okay.
days where I'm perfectly fine dealing with everything that I go through and it's not a
Mm,
problem. And then I have bad days to where I'm just like, I'm over it. I want this done with. I want to just knock myself completely out silly.
mhm,
So it really just can change from one day to the next on how I'm going to deal with it. Now, the bad days where I can't deal with it the best, but when I get like that, I don't really think I have a good coping mechanism for it, honestly.
I would work with your therapist on coming up with a healthy coping mechanism, whether it's journaling, venting, like orally venting out your feelings. Like what I have learned, and the reason I'm talking about this, Tim, is because I really struggled with this. I struggled with, okay, I have all these issues. I don't want to burden anyone else, so I'm just going to shove them inside of me. And that was really toxic to me. I found out, that's not so good for me. So I had to figure out how to let out these emotions
Right.
and let them go. And so
Yeah.
that's why I'm kind of writing you a little bit on this because when you learn how to, what were we saying, how to like manage, because I've
Process.
thank you, Carmen. Thank you. Cognitive issues here.
It's
When you
okay.
realize how to process your feelings and then experience them and then let them go so they're no longer,
Right.
because we're not supposed to be a storage tank of emotions from,
Yeah.
days, weeks, months, years. And that's really important to do. And a lot of us, before we had MS, we knew how to cope with our lives. And then with MS, like, whoa, I really have to work on these processing strategies because
Yeah.
I'm dealing with way more. We had a gentleman on like a month or so ago where, we were talking about like, you need to see a therapist. There is no shame. I see a therapist. A bunch of us see therapists on here. Like, they're amazing. I had a,
Oh, I
and
think the world would be a much better place if everyone saw a therapist.
yeah, if everyone, but
Mm-hmm.
that can be affordability and problems getting in, and I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a huge supply issue and
Finding
things
the
like
right
that too.
one.
Uh-huh. But I'm just like, I just saying, keep working on it. Keep
Yeah.
figuring out your strategies, whether you're learning to do, deep breathing, meditation. I do lots of deep breathing. I do lots of journaling and just work with your therapist and yourself, just figuring out what's going to be effective to me to deal with all these
Right.
crazy unpleasant feelings that I just don't want to hold on to because if I keep holding on to them, it's going to make it worse. And if I just shove them down, it's just going to be like you're just making it really toxic and maladaptive behavior.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
not healthy.
now that you mentioned that, I have done one thing that I've started doing. I haven't done it for a while. I need to pick it back
Hmm.
up where I've been
Yeah.
basically making videos and
Oh.
posting them onto Instagram. And just talking about what I'm going through, how it's making me feel, that sort of thing. And the way that I figure is that if I can help one person that has a problem with it, just kind of understand it a little bit better, then it was all worth it. And literally, the first video that I posted, someone that I had not talked to in years, actually at this point, well over a decade, messaged me back because apparently he found me on there, and he's like, "Dude, I'm literally going through, and I just got diagnosed with it, and it's like I completely understand what you're going through. And now he and I have become like our MS buddies, and we talk to each other about stuff like that all the time now.
That sounds amazing, Tim. I'm so glad that you did that and you found someone that connected with you. And I
Yeah.
think that's the thing that's so important. Like, whether or not you want to be an advocate about MS, I think part of having MS is I have to educate people what MS is, because it's the whole pesky invisible thing that we discussed about when you use your disability placard and people are like, why are you using this? So it's kind of like part of the job. Another crazy thing I
Yeah.
do, I'm not an artist people. I haven't done art since like middle school, but I paint and then I cut them up and I make little note cards and I send them to
Oh, that's
people.
cool.
Well, that's a cool
So,
idea.
a little creative outlet that I do to help with, and I just do it non-judging. It's just all non-judging. Whatever comes to my mind is what I do, and I'm like not like, oh, that's like dumb. No, just do it.
That's
And
awesome, Kim.
yeah, thanks. But it's like I felt really silly. It's like art. You want to do art? And it's like, well, when I do art with Hannah, she's one of our MS moderators. She teaches art on AnCan. Highly recommend doing that class. It's amazing. Is that something you did with her?
No, it's my sister who also has MS, but she
Oh,
took up watercolor painting, and I actually just compiled a book for her birthday. It's still being shipped to her, but like she sends us all individual cards.
gorgeous.
This one has like reflective paint on it. It's amazing. She hasn't
So,
left her house since November, but she's taken up painting and it's just changed her whole perspective.
yeah, so think outside the box on things that can help you process your emotions, process your feelings, help you feel like you're in flow again. Because part of probably your job in the past was you were in flow and you were in this and you really enjoyed it, and like time just went by like this, and now you're like, what do I do now? And you have to
Yeah.
find that. You have to be active and going, oh, let me do that. What do you want to say, Michelle?
Well, let me ask you this, because this is very important to me at this point.
Hmm.
Since things have changed in my life,
Hmm.
I need to finish something I started over 40 years ago.
Hmm.
But like I think like Tim maybe expressed, and I was an avid reader once in my life. I graduated high school in 3 years, long time ago, but I was very advanced. I have a book that I need to finish,
Hmm.
and I've been in a writers group. I've been doing everything I can, but I've been running into some difficulties.
Hmm.
And like Tim, I used to be an avid book reader. I used to read 2, 3 books in a month.
Hmm.
I can barely get through one, and I'm very upset about that. I hope it has nothing to do with this, and it's just
Michelle,
the digital age.
quick
Yes.
question for you. When they did
Hmm.
your MRIs recently, did they
Uh-huh.
happen to find a lesion on your left occipital lobe?
I didn't even know the breakdown of it. That's a good question.
You might want to ask them that
Left
because
occipital. Okay.
yeah, left occipital lobe, because for people
Okay.
like me that have a lesion on the left occipital lobe, that causes that problem. It's called alexia. And
Okay.
it basically when I first found out about it, I mean, it literally was like word for word everything I'm going through, where you basically get through about 2 to 3 paragraphs in, then you stop losing the ability to comprehend what you're reading, and then if you still try to force yourself to continue reading, then the words just become this big jumble. And that's exactly what happens to me.
Wow. Wow. I'm very upset about that because I need to finish this what I started. And if I had been able to finish it even years ago, it probably would have been a big difference in my life. Because I foresaw a lot of things that is happening right now.
Hmm.
I really wrote about it, and people have seen it. So I just need to finish it because this challenge is here. And I need to. Somebody asked me if I wanted a partner to help, to write, and I said, no, this is my story. I need to tell it, but I may need to do that.
You
It's
might have to
ridiculous.
like have someone, type it for you. Maybe you record an auto, you do a voice record. I know they do
Uh huh.
some things
Voice
where
to
you can
text.
talk, you do where that you talk and it automatically types it into Word for you.
Yes.
Dictating.
Yes.
So you might when you write your book, Michelle, you might just have to tweak how you do it. Like I said, like we're talking about, think outside
Okay.
the box. It might not be like you sitting at a laptop and typing it, because that just might be overwhelming too. You might have to just orally tell
Mm,
the story, have it type it out for you. Um,
okay.
Breaking things
Focus.
down
It's just
into
more
smaller
focus. It's more
bits.
focus.
yeah, and don't worry about, like, you will edit it all later. Just it sounds, just vomit it on the paper, because you can't edit if it's not written down.
Right, right, right. I gotta meet with them next Monday, and I need to have something to turn in.
Yeah, check out doing those text to type, the voice. Hopefully, my voice is terrible. Those things hate my voice. I think it's designed for men. Got really disgusted. My cell phone. A gentleman who was not his first language, it could understand him. Can't understand me for the life of
Oh,
me.
Kim,
And
when
English
these
is,
first came out, my dad was trying to set one up, and you had to read like things to it. And we heard him from the office, scratch that, no, scratch that, and he was yelling at the computer screen. It just brings up such memories. No, scratch that.
Oh God.
It's so funny. Anyway,
and Michelle, if that technology doesn't work for you, you can't figure it out, just record it and ask your buddy, yo, can you just type this for me? Like, if you have an amazing friend that's a typer that can just listen to it,
I
just do
have to
that.
figure it out. Trust
Yeah,
me.
there's a way to do it,
thinking
And,
even
outside
and
the
just
the
through
box.
the
words.
marketing alone would be taken care of by what the original story when it was first written
I
and
would
what it
love to
foretold
read this
because it's
story.
visual. It's
I'm super
visual.
Brilliant.
excited.
It's called the preemptive story title is The Darkest Day.
I'd love to hear
That's
it.
Oh.
what it's about.
I'd love
Yeah.
to read it. But don't
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna want to
don't
read
put
this.
Yeah, well, don't put yourself in a box where this is how Michelle could do it previously. You got to do current Michelle. This is what you can and can't do. Don't give
Right
yourself
now.
shit for it. Don't feel shame. Don't be upset. No judging. It's like, look, this is how I have to write it, and this is how it's gonna get done, and it's no issues. Okay.
That's
There's
my
that new
challenge because
normal again.
I was a judge. I
Yeah,
judged myself
exactly.
higher than anybody could have ever judged me.
Yeah,
I
and we
was a
all do
judger
that.
of
We're
myself.
always our worst critic, 100%. And
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
part of the battle with MS for me is like not like letting go of judgment. And that's what the artwork is for me, is completely letting judgment go of my artwork. I started taking voice lessons because I was told I was a terrible singer. So I'm like, time to get rid of this fear, time to break. So this Friday, I am doing a
Right.
vocal recital, a duet with my husband. I am scared to whatever,
Wow.
but I am
What are
doing
you
it
Wow. That's
singing?
because
congrats.
we are singing a
That,
duet to Every Breath You Take by the Police.
Oh my
oh
God,
my
that's
God. That's my.
awesome.
Oh no. Gordon
I'm
Sumner.
scared to death.
Mr. Gordon Sumner. Mr.
Oh,
Sing. That's my.
Yes.
Oh wow.
So I have to sing in
Love
front
it.
of people and I'm scared. But I
awesome,
said, look,
Kim. Good
I
for
am not
you.
going to let this fear affect my life anymore. And I'm going to
Right.
figure it out, even though how hard
You
it
go,
is.
girl.
And so,
You
yeah, so that's my
Wow.
first jumping. It'd be easier for me to jump out of a plane than to do this. So I jump out of the
Oh my
plane
God.
Friday with the
Well,
vocal.
good.
And then a week and a
You
half
keep
later,
that.
jump out of the plane with the
I, won't-
surgery. So May is jumping out of the plane
right.
month for me. So
I would never join you on that.
yeah, yeah. So May has been a more anxiety, stressed out
What day
time
is
than
your
I'm
surgery again, Kim?
the
Sorry to
29th.
interrupt.
The 29th.
Okay. Yeah,
So
and
last
my
Wednesday.
my clinic day is the 30th, so I've got a big thing going on
Ooh.
too. So I'll be
You'll have
sending
to
you
fill me in on that. I'm excited to
yeah.
hear.
Yeah, we'll stay in touch. Yeah,
Wow.
No, I have a bunch of appointments during the a session since it's during the
I'm
day
sure.
next Tuesday.
Mhm.
So those take priority of going. So
Well,
you guys
I've
will
got my
find out.
physical therapy. I was accepted at the Shepherd Center, the renowned Shepherd Center in Atlanta. So
Mhm.
I got to start my therapy next week. Yeah.
Good.
So
That's good.
yeah, PT.
And if
Yeah.
you have access to it, Michelle, what has been a game changer for me is getting into a pool and doing exercises and walking in the pool has been amazing for
I
me.
heard about that. Trust me, I did. For
Hmm.
MS, and actually, I'm near a place, a location for that. I got to get back. I got to find some clothes because
Well, this is
I
what
have
I wear,
gained 60
Michelle.
pounds. Sitting
Well, this is
around,
what.
I've gained like 60 pounds.
Mhm.
Mm,
It's not good for MS, I've told.
yeah.
Weight.
Well,
So
gaining weight in general is not good. Let's just admit that. Like, but
yeah,
we
yeah.
all
Let's just
gain,
say
and
that.
it's tougher to
Mm,
get off too because you're tired and you're fatigued and you have limited energy.
yeah.
But
Right.
I'll tell you what I wear though, Michelle, because I don't like wearing swimsuits because they're too tight, and with my fatigue, I can't pull them on and off. And then,
Right.
sometimes you need to use the bathroom like right now, and I don't have time to,
Mm-hmm.
So I got swim leggings, Google swim leggings on Amazon, and they just go down to
Okay.
your ankles, and then I can just pull my pants down and boom, I can go to the bathroom. None of this trying to pull out this, this tight
Get
suit.
out of everything. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I
Oh,
wear a bikini top, and then I wear a full rash guard with the full zipper on the front, so I can get the rash guard on off very easy. But I wear a bikini top on top that I can get on and off myself. But that's what I wear. I'm also scuba dive, so that's kind of why I wear scuba diving. But when I go to the pool, Michelle, no one cares. No one cares what I look like. No
real
one cares.
scuba
Yeah.
dive. Scuba dive. I have equipment that I have not been able to use in the last 20 years, and I just holding on to it like I'll get back to it.
Okay,
My
Michelle,
hyperdrive system.
I'm gonna
Oh
tell you what
God.
my neurologist at Mayo Clinic told me. I was talking to him in October last year. I'm like, look, I'm going to Florida next month to go scuba dive. And he's like, I want you to get your nitrox certification because if you get more um, oxygen, higher level oxygen, it'll actually help you with your fatigue. And he's like, yeah, scuba diving is the best thing for you. So I'd recommend you get back
Really?
into, yeah. So I just make sure that wherever I'm diving with, like I ask them, look, can I take off my tank and hand it to you? Because to pull myself up the ladder with the tank is very, very hard. That takes up a lot of
Yes,
energy.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, but just scuba diving,
Wow.
no, that's easy. That's the easy part.
Mm.
So
My family
I
would be
just,
crazy. They'd be upset. They'd be like, "What are you doing?"
no,
But here's the problem. I don't know how to swim. I never learned how to swim, but I know how to get. I know how to get in the water.
well, the
And when I was
ocean, the ocean is
TDY
very
pickle
buoyant.
in Hawaii, I mean, I went out there in the water, in the ocean. Yeah,
Well,
but
get comfortable in the pool, Michelle, and do that fear like me and take swimming lessons. You'll love it. You'll have
but
a great
I had a
time.
foot fungus, and I didn't feel like it was appropriate to get in the damn pool with that kind of until I resolved that. Or go in
Yeah.
the pool with other people.
Did you
Foot
get it resolved?
fungi. I'm still working on it. That's the thing, and I want to do that.
Okay,
Get in there with other people.
there's a great medication. It's prescription only. Is it
Oh,
Lamisil? The cream is over the counter, but you have to take the pills. Give me a second. And you take it for like
I
3
gotta go, guys.
months.
I'm sorry. I gotta get going.
Yeah,
But it's been
I'm gonna
really
have to
great
as
to
okay,
meet
well.
you.
okay,
And I look forward to hearing more about everyone's stories the next meeting. Maybe you'll make it on the
absolutely.
earlier one. Okay. And good luck to both of you. And Kim, I'll try to get in touch yet before your surgery.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I think we need to
Okay,
get on either Facebook
Messenger.
or the
Okay, I'll send you an
WhatsApp,
email.
I think, or
Okay,
something, so we can do
I'll
video,
send you
so
a
it's not
message.
like long
Yeah.
distance internationally.
Okay.
oh,
Okay, bye
definitely.
guys.
Okay,
Great
later.
meeting.
bye.
Thanks for sharing,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
I'll be
Okay.
back.
I'm gonna just write this drug in here for you real quick, Michelle.
Okay, because I just got some. In fact, that I've been lackadaisical about using some cream,
Yeah,
two
well, what
different
you're
types of
getting,
cream.
it depends on how bad it is. If it's really bad, like all your tones are all, I mean,
Yes,
I'll shut off
they're
I'll shut
deformed.
off